All right, everybody, welcome back to City Park Rangers Park Talk. This is the November 2023 edition, and I'm here with Olivia as always for these. It's always fun to talk about parks. It's always fun to talk about movies and what's going on in the sphere of entertainment, etc. So we have a relatively short list today when it comes to content and kind of what's been going on and all those sorts of things. There haven't been any bombshell things park wise, but because of that, we're going to sort of segue some of this stuff into some other entertainment news and that sort of thing. And we'll just kind of shoot the breeze and rabbit trail. And you guys can tell us if you like it, if you don't like it. Let us know if you enjoy these, please. And if you aren't subscribed, hit the subscribe button. Helps a lot.
That it
Anyway,
does.
that it does. All right. Yeah, so I guess the first thing and the thing that honestly I'm most excited about when it comes to theme parks, right, is the fact that we are 3 weeks out from being in Disney World. And this is just, I guess, maybe even to provide a little bit of context as to like our relationship and then Aaron, who will be joining us as well. We all went to film school together, and we've touched on this, I think, a little bit in the very first video, but it's not something that we've revisited just yet. So, a bit of my plan for what us being together in the parks is going to be is kind of going to be maybe reminiscing about some of those sorts of things and kind of making it feel very contained in that way and not just like a typical park vlog, that sort of thing. It'll be fun. I'm really looking forward to it. They go to the parks way more than I do, so it'll be fun to kind of go with like masters that really know how to navigate their way around. And I'm just excited to be a part of it. And yeah, it's gonna be fun. But it's gonna be Christmas time too, which Christmas is my favorite. Out of any like holiday season, whatever, Christmas is easily the best to me. And I've never been to Disney at Christmas time, and I could not be more excited to go. It's gonna be super enjoyable. And yeah, I don't know. I know that they flip these things overnight. Have you been to the parks? Like, have you seen it fall one time and then like the next day gone to the end of the park and it's been Christmas?
So I've never been on Halloween and then gone the next day, but it
Okay,
does
okay.
happen overnight. Yeah, so they have a whole
Right.
team of holiday experts that work all year round on this stuff. They have documentaries about this. I think they're on Disney Plus. It's great. You should watch it. Um, but yeah, they go in particularly on like Main Street, but it happens in all the parks. Where they change out all of like the banners and even like the flowers and it, like the Mickey pumpkins.
And yeah, that's crazy.
Everything changes out to wreaths and
Yeah,
it's this
yeah.
huge
Yeah.
operation. So as soon as the last guest leaves the park, everything comes down for Halloween and everything Christmas goes up. I think the one thing that might not be up on November 1st is the Christmas tree. I'm not sure. It might be there, but I haven't
Interesting.
I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
could be. I mean, they have a lot of manpower, so,
Certainly.
um,
Yeah.
it's just this huge orchestration of people and things and moving parts, and it's pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny you mentioned those documentaries. I started to watch I want to say it was behind it's like it's on Disney Plus if you're interested in them, and you might have to do a little bit of digging, but it was kind of just under the general theme park banner of things. I can't remember exactly what they're called, but it was essentially behind the ride a little bit. It's similar to kind of what we do with deep dives. It's a little different just because they're throwing it's Disney doing it. So they're like they had it's I think it's all wrapped up in the Disney 100 thing, if I'm not mistaken. So they had like Christina
Right.
Aguilera like singing on one of them or something. I don't know. It gets a little like you get a little bit of that cheese factor with all that stuff, which is kind of part of the fun. Like to me, that's always
It
been
is.
like
Yeah.
part of it. Yeah, yeah. Like I enjoy that sort of stuff. But yeah, I don't know. I'm super excited. I know that we're gonna try. I know we're hitting at least 3 parks. I am curious to see if we can hit 4. That would be Have you ever done that before?
I don't think I have.
Yeah, it
Oh,
might be a
man,
fun goal. I haven't either. I've done 3 in a day. I've never done 4 in a day.
we'd have to be really strategic because Animal Kingdom
Yeah, that
closes early.
early.
Yeah,
Right,
so
yeah.
we'd have
Yeah,
to
I don't know.
plan around that
We'll
one.
see. Yeah, yeah. That would yeah, it would
That
have to
would
be
be the
like
hurdle.
we go from, like it would be the hurdle. We would have, like, from it's also it's, like, the furthest departure from the other if I'm not mistaken, it's kinda like
It's
it's not siloed,
opposites from
but
Magic Kingdom,
it's
pretty much.
yeah. Y Oh, yeah, right, exactly. But it would yeah, we'd have to from Magic Kingdom to Animal Kingdom, and then maybe, like, work back up this way. I think Ep's last, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong about
Yeah,
that, but
they're
I'm pretty sure that
very
that's
similar in
been the latest
times.
this time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
depends on the day.
I think Epcot closes 1 hour later than Hollywood Studios on
Mhm.
this particular day. So, at any rate, it'll be fun.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
looking forward to it. It's gonna be a good time. I'm a sucker for, like, Christmas decorations and all that sort of stuff. We haven't put our tree up yet, but we're, like, days away. That's just
Yeah,
kinda like what we
it's
do.
close.
We do usually, like, the day after Halloween, I'm ready, but this year, just work and all those sorts of things are getting in the way of, like, doing it as soon as I typically would, but I
Yeah.
digress. At any rate, in the spirit of keeping things moving for theme park things, I know that Epic Universe has, like, some relative updates, and I know that you're not typically a Universal person, so this is kinda interesting. Let me see here real fast if I can pull up the thing that I saw earlier. Basically, it was a blurb about, the, classic, like, Monsters, land, and,
Mhm.
it's they had, like, some images. This isn't it. Let's see here. Sorry for anyone watching this. I'm searching, like, in real time here. It was a gate it was like the gateway for it. Man, rats, I'm not gonna be able to find it, am I? I don't remember where I saw it. It might have been Twitter, might have been something else. I
The
don't
internet is vast.
know. It certainly is. Let's see. I guess we can for kicks and giggles, we can kind of like pull this up for the time being. I reckon. But yeah, it's one of those deals where it's kind of we haven't really known exactly what's going down with the Epic universe, like, in total. There's been, like, lots of, speculation and, all those sorts of things, but at any rate, there's this thing that's like so I guess, like, here's the land, right? Like, here's early construction. This is from September, so it's a couple months old at this point. Basically, I don't know if it was this section, like, in here or where it was, but there's this big kinda, like, gateway now, that's very, like, monstery, sorta, like, whatever, but I guess they're doing, like, a classic monsters sort of section of Epic Universe, which is so freaking cool. Like,
Yeah.
I it's one of those things where I honestly like I wish that I would have known. I I thought back in the day that like um or I thought even just like a few months ago that like it wasn't going to be something that they did or something that they were working towards. It just felt like one of those properties that they owned that they just always sort of squander. Like, I remember a couple years back they did that. You remember that Tom Cruise Mummy movie that they did? They just like flopped like fabulously. It's just, it's
Mhm.
just
Oh,
like
yeah.
no one cared. If you don't got Brendan, I love Tom Cruise. Like more power to the guy. But if it's
Right.
not Brendan Fraser in the Mummy, like I just don't care. I just don't
Yeah.
care. And this is
That's the
before,
franchise.
Brendan kinda had, like, his yeah, it is the franchise, 100%.
Yeah.
It's all like the ride. It's the ride that they have. Like, if you ever go, That ride is really cool. Do you know anything about the Mummy ride?
No, I don't know anything about
Okay, all right.
anything in
So
Universal.
here okay, all right. All right, all right. So the Mummy ride is so fun because they treat it like you're on set of the Mummy. Like
Oh,
that's
okay.
like the yeah. So the whole concept of the Mummy ride is essentially you're on set and it's not just a movie. It's like the mummy's real and whatever. And that's how like you get on the ride and like you go through all this stuff and all these things are actually happening. And then at the end, you know, you're off and it's all over and they're like, okay, thanks, bye. Like that's sort of the yeah. It's very tongue in
Bye-bye.
cheek. Exactly. But, like, in the middle of, like, throughout the queue, you have, like, Brendan Fraser doing interviews, and, he's, like, you know, talking about how all this weird stuff's been happening on set, and, like, it's very, like, silly, but it's cool. All that
Yeah.
to say, you could so easily do that with, like, Dracula or The Creature from the Black Lagoon or Frankenstein or, like,
Oh, yeah.
the Wolfman, like you name it. You know what I mean? Like you can do so much with that, and also kind of like Universal. We talked about this last time. Trends a little older anyway, but you could really kind of maximize that with the monster stuff.
Mhm.
It's a good avenue to do that with. I don't know. It's cool. Um, I'm very it makes me and I love Nintendo. We're about to talk about that a little bit as well. But that's the only one that I really knew was going to be at Epic Universe. And kind of in the back of my mind the whole time, I'm like, okay, that's great. But they've sort of done this same thing with like Harry Potter and Islands of Adventure. Like, you can't curb everyone's expectations, or like you can't kind of center this whole park around a single IP. And
Right.
Harry Potter sort of does that, you know what I mean? Like, even between both parks, it's sort of, like, taken over. I think they know that, though. I think that they're kind of wising up, and I think that's why Epic Universe is gonna be really interesting because
Mhm.
they've got all this Nintendo stuff going in, but then all the classic monster stuff too, and apparently there's, like, some How to Train Your Dragon stuff and, like, all these DreamWorks properties that they're going to start, like, really incorporating. Super cool. Like, I can't it's gonna be
Right.
really fun. With that though, with the Nintendo stuff, it is a super, super good year to be a Nintendo fan. Like, this year, we've gotten the Super Mario movie, you've gotten
Mhm.
Legend of Zelda: Tears of the Kingdom, and, like, just a couple weeks ago, we got Super Mario Wonder, which is a really, really good 2D Mario game. I'm by no means, like, the biggest Nintendo fan in the world. I did grow up playing it, and I have kept up with it, you know, over the years. And like, I love playing Switch and like stuff like that in downtime. I think Mario Wonder is great for that. And honestly, Tears of the Kingdom as well. Like, it's just fun to pick up and you can, you know, play for 30 minutes or whatever and kind of get lost in the world a bit. Really cool. So, all that to say, especially after the Super Mario movie did as well as it did. You know what? For kicks and giggles, let's just look it up real fast. How much money did the Super Mario movie worldwide? It is not insignificant, I know.
Yeah, it was a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Wow. Okay. 1.346 billion.
Mhm.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Roughly, that number is probably gonna change source to source, but, like, around in that ballpark, a lot of money. So, the natural next question, right, is, okay, what movie are they gonna make next? Like, a sequel, I think, is inevitable, like,
Mhm.
that's kind of a no-brainer. The movie had a $100 million budget, which even by like, regular movie standards, that is not very high. Like, that's not a ton of money. They made
No.
so much money off of the movie. That's
Wow.
kind of preposterous. I know, I'm thinking about that
Mm.
too. Like, as I just said that, I'm processing. That's preposterous. It's so much money. Oh my gosh. Hang on, let me double check real fast. Yeah, That's what it says. This is from Screen Rant, and who, you know,
Are
take
we
or leave
sure it
how
was 100
reputable
million?
movie. Let me double check. I'll double check. I'll cross reference the source real fast, real fast. All right. How much did it cost? Did it cost to make the Super Mario movie? Here we go. $100 million.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause
Wow.
I'm just breaking down the numbers, 'cause that's what I do.
Right.
Um,
You
when
can
you
go into
think
that a little bit
about
if you want for folks. Like explain that a touch.
I mean, yeah, I work with budgets. I'm not the one who builds it on my team, but I understand what goes into a film budget, and it's a lot. There are a lot of categories. Now, when it comes to an animated film, that's probably a lot different than what I deal with, but if you just look at the credits on a film
Oh yeah.
and how many names are there, that's a dollar sign, and
Oh
it's not
yeah.
just I mean, that's a lot of dollars for each name.
Hmm.
Um, so, I mean, when you divvy up 100 million, I that sounds really low to me, like
Yeah. Yeah.
ridiculously low. Wow.
I those deals where even for an animated feature, right? It's it's something where it is the first one. They hadn't Nintendo has not made a movie since the Super Mario movie that came out in the 90s. Not that they
Mhm.
put their name on. I had a friend of mine because what I'm about to get into, I was like, this is a mistake. But and I'll tell you why I think it's a mistake. But I had a friend of mine say, "Well, what about Detective Pikachu?" And I was like, "Okay, that isn't Nintendo though. It is Pokemon IP for a lot of their stuff, but it's
Right.
not a Nintendo property. Pokemon exists. I don't know what the parent company of Pokemon is. As far as I know, it's fairly like independent. Um,
Yeah.
yeah, I can't. Someone smarter than us can let us know in the comments. I don't know,
There we
or
go.
that's nerdier about Pokemon. Like if that's your jam, tell us who owns it. Whatever. But regardless, Nintendo. I think that they were just like really tempering expectations. I obviously a Mario movie that's animated is going to do well, but I don't know if you remember this. A lot of people were really skeptical just because Chris Pratt was voicing Mario. Mario has a very distinct voice, and everyone's like, Chris Pratt doesn't sound like Mario. And it's like, okay, this is it's kind of a different thing. And I think they established it. What did you see it, by the way? Did you like it?
I haven't seen it, but I know it's great.
Yeah, yeah, it's totally worth I think it's on Paramount, if I'm not mistaken. It's
Oh, I'm
worth
sure it's
watching,
yeah.
for sure. But at any rate, it's one of those deals where, it's I think that they probably were just curbing expectations, didn't wanna spend, too much money on it, and yeah, like, they had Chris Pratt attached, but then, like, the other actors and actresses, like, weren't they're not no names, like, you know who they are, like, most people would know who they
Right.
are, but they're also not, like they're not getting Robert Downey Jr. voicing Donkey Kong, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know,
Yeah.
it's like a kind of I don't whatever, but at any rate, the next Nintendo movie is going to be a Legend of Zelda movie, okay? Illumination is not making it. It's not gonna be animated. It's going to be live action, okay? And where that could be extremely cool because it's, like high fantasy, it bleeds into that realm of like Game of Thrones potentially or Lord of the Rings, stuff like that.
Right.
Could be really cool.
Uh-huh.
Here's the problem. They all right. So, they've hired Avi Arad, who is a Sony guy that's largely attached to Spider-Man projects. And yes, his name is on Tom Holland Spider-Man stuff and MCU stuff by proximity, but he's
Uh-huh.
also the mastermind behind Venom, Venom Let There Be Carnage, Morbius, uh, like all of that sort of stuff. And in fairness to him too, he's also been equally attached to Spider-Man 1, 2, 3, take or leave, 3, whatever.
Okay.
The Amazing Spider-Man 1 and 2, all the Spider-Man animated stuff, so even like the '90s Spider-Man animated series, which I love, he's largely attached to those and some other like older Marvel properties. I can't remember if he was attached to X-Men stuff or not. I don't think so because that was Fox, not Sony. At any rate, this guy is producing this thing. That's like a flag on the field immediately for me, just because the track record is at best like this, but really lately it's been a very, very low bar. I assume you probably didn't see Morbius. Did you watch Morbius by chance?
No.
Yeah. All
Not my
right.
style.
Oh yeah, I did. But you know what? Just for kicks and giggles, I don't even care if we get flagged for this because it's too good. Let me just show you a little clip from the movie, the hit movie. Um, it is something else. You're probably not going to believe that it's legit, but I assure you, it is. Here we
I'm
go.
ready.
Oh yeah. All right. Here we go.
Put my hands against, put my best against, put my 10 at 10, or put my spend, have sex, excel. Automatic unicate show, vola. Getting an istandi best show, vola.
It gets better. Just wait.
Shit and the hair show, vola. I funicate show. Excel, put my hands against, put my best against, put my 10 at 10. Or put my spend, have sex, excel. Put my hands against, put my best against, put my 10 at 10. Or put my spend, have sex, excel.
Yeah.
So, my biggest
Oh
question,
yeah.
what were those lyrics?
Okay, so it's a
Okay.
different language.
Thank you. So that
Yeah,
answers my
yeah, yeah, different language. Oh, I did like a deep dive because in the theater, I was like, "What is going on here? What is happening?" They took Bully Maguire dancing and cranked it up to 11. Like, it is it is crazy. But my whole like, here's my question is like, what is it with them? And I'm not going to pin it all on Avi Arad, but like, what's with them wanting their guys to just like do these weird dance numbers? Like, they don't have any like, they don't have any, I don't know, like pertinence to the film whatsoever.
It's not
Also,
cool.
who picked the song? It's a great meme. You know what I mean? Like, it's an awesome meme at this point. Like, even at the time, I think I'm trying to think. So one of my like, I do content creation outside of this channel. One of my clients is a tattoo shop, and the guys went and saw it separately, and we were talking about it, and we pulled up the song because we had the same thing. We were like, what are they saying? Because it sounds like have sex, pooped my pants. That's like what it sounds like over and over and over again. And it's like, what? Like, what are we doing? And here's the thing, like
What a
different
list of
language.
things.
It's not my language. I don't speak it. It's fine, whatever. But here's the thing. It's a movie that's made in the US and your audience is primarily going to be like for the most part, I would wager English speaking for this film. What? Like, why include that? I don't know.
So
So go ahead. Go
there
ahead.
there are QC teams.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
There are
You're
people at
oh yeah.
studios and networks
Oh
who
yeah.
watch films
Oh
in their
yeah.
final forms, I
Mhm.
mean, in the testing phase, like, the fine cuts
Oh yeah.
to final cuts,
Without
final
a doubt.
mixes with songs and everything,
Mhm.
and
It passed all that.
they're supposed to flag these things.
It passed all of
I
it.
see these reports.
Yeah.
Um, so somebody wrote a note about it, and somebody said, "No, it's fine.
It's gonna be good. Yeah.
Trust
I
us."
It's funny, like, I mean, that characterization of Morbius is also just such a far departure. The problem with that, like, all these, like, Sony Spider-Man things, spin-off things that they're trying to is they're doing them all without Spider-Man. So it makes no sense. Like, none of it makes any it just exists in a vacuum. They're trying to capitalize on a character that some people know. Here's the thing, even a lot of Spider-Man fans, like casual Spider-Man fans, they don't know who Morbius is. Like,
Yeah.
that's a pretty deep cut character for even, like, the casual Spider-Man fan. So yeah, I don't know. It's a weird thing, but all of that to say, the producer that's attached to this thing. Okay, got that out of the way. Now, the other piece of this is I'm about to read you. Okay. Um all right. So Wes Ball is the director of this film. And he is the guy that did the Maze Runner movies, which the first one I remember enjoying at least in high school. So it's been a minute since I've seen that one. If you're not familiar with that franchise, it's one of those, like, back in the day when they were doing kind of like Hunger Games and Divergent. It falls in that, like, sphere of, young adult fiction,
Right.
whatever.
Yeah.
But he directed that. He most recently, though, directed the next film in the Planet of the Apes franchise that's about to come out. I don't know if you saw a trailer for that or
I
not.
didn't know there was gonna be another one.
Yeah. So here, why not? We're here.
More
Let's
apes,
watch the
more
real
planets. Let's
fest.
do it.
Yeah, yeah. It looks decent enough. Truthfully, I think it's called Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Yeah, yeah. Now for contrast, like, Matt Reeves is the guy that directed the first three, and Matt Reeves has a proven track record as far as I'm concerned, and his ability to tell stories. So we're getting away from him, and we're doing. Let me back it up. Let me back it up. There we go.
When I sleep, I see strange things. Memories? Not memories. New things. I see everything.
That is not everything. What a wonderful day!
So anyway, there you go. That
All
there's
right.
the looks decent, honestly. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like, it looks solid enough. I think it looks very much with, like, what they were doing with the first three. It's like it's funny, all like a build up to the Planet of the Apes, and this is like right on the cusp of Planet of the Apes. It looks like the movie before it's just called Planet of the Apes, if that makes sense. It's like,
Mhm.
the monkeys are talking now. I don't yeah, like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
we've reached that point where, like, they're definitely fully sentient, like, it's happening. They're, like, rounding up humans and stuff. So
Creating
it'll
monarchies.
it should be cool enough. So hey, that's what we do. So I don't know. It looks fun. So that guy is a director. Sure. Like whatever. I guess we'll have really kind of more to think about once that movie comes out on Memorial Day, and we're able to sort of sit with it for a little bit, evaluate it, all those sorts of things, and figure out, okay, is this guy going to be the right choice for a Zelda movie? Whatever. I don't know. So anyway, you've got him, Avi Arad, and obviously like the guy, Miyamoto, the guy that created Zelda is a producer on it as well, as he was for the Super Mario movie too, which is great. Now here's the thing that's really throwing me for a loop here. And I'll get more into it in a second. But Derek Connolly, who wrote Jurassic World and The Rise of Skywalker, is the
Mhm.
guy that they've hired to write this movie. Now, both of those films are franchise films. Uh,
Right.
and especially in the case of Rise of Skywalker, I don't know if he wrote the Last Jedi and the Force Awakens as well, or if that was somebody else. But um, after a certain point, truthfully, who knows how many iterations draft wise the Rise of Skywalker went through? I don't know. That movie's awful. movie's that movie is genuinely unwatchable to me, and that's mostly just due to the fact that I'm a big Star Wars nut and I don't like how the sequels were handled. I've talked about that before. Don't no need to get into that. Uh, I'm also a giant Jurassic Park fan. The Jurassic World movie I actually really like. The first one, just 2 and 3 are buns. 2 is the worst. The third one is there are hardly any dinosaurs, man. Like, how do you bring back Sam Neill uh oh my gosh, Jeff Goldblum and oh my gosh, who plays Ellie Sadler? What's her name? Oh,
Laura
that's gonna
Dern.
drink. Thank you, Laura Dern.
Yeah.
Like for a send off and you make the whole movie about giant grasshoppers. I just like I don't know, man.
Nice.
Something and Tim Cook is the bad guy. You know what I mean? It's just like
Yeah.
I, I don't know. At any rate, as far as I know, that guy didn't write those. But it's a concoction that to me feels strange to begin with, and then like to go live action with it. When you've established now, here's the thing: an Illumination Zelda movie would be awful. I'm not like I have no unless they just took a hard turn and were like, hey, we're going to ground this a little bit and show people that we're capable of making a like more adult like oriented sort of thing. And here's the thing: Zelda's not adult oriented either. It's like it is for kids, but it's one of those. It's like a gateway into more serious things. It has serious themes in the franchise and in those games and that sort of thing. So it's a situation where like I see why live action is appealing because it's easy to ground it that way. Um, I was talking with the guys at the shop today, the same guys that we were talking about Morbius with, about this because this client that I work for, like they specialize in anime tattoos. That's what their shop does. And they're large names in that space. So they're very acquainted with especially like anime stuff, but because it's so just adjacent, all the Nintendo stuff as well. Um, and they all were saying that they definitely would have rather it seen adapted in animation. And one of the guys was like, they should have called Studio Ghibli and just had Studio Ghibli do it. Like, and I don't know if it's a situation where like maybe they did try that, and Ghibli's like, "Hey," or whatever. You guys know what I'm talking. You know the studio I'm talking
Right.
about. I don't know if I'm saying it right or not. It's not my world, but it- I don't know if it's a situation where they called them and they were like, "Hey, we've got the Zelda movie we're trying to make," and maybe they came back and said, "Hey, we only do original stuff," because they do like to this day, it's all original stuff, which is
Right.
really cool. but there's like no denying that they are easily one of the top. If I mean, no, they are the top like animator for 2D animation,
Yeah.
especially the anime space. And if you were to adapt something like Zelda in that style, it would work like flawlessly. It would be
So well.
yeah, like it's such low hanging fruit, and they didn't go that route for whatever reason. And but the other thing is like, man, like if I'm Miyamoto, if I'm Nintendo, I'm not calling Avi Arad. I don't care if you like if you're friendly or whatever, like that's not the guy that you call to make this movie. This movie is giant. And
Right.
who knows, I could be and I welcome it. Like, I want them to prove me wrong. I was this is what I was telling my friend yesterday that was like, I think it's gonna like why can you just not be optimistic about this? I'm way more optimistic than most people when it comes to any like franchise stuff right now. Like I have hope for Star Wars still. Marvel is actually like the Marvels aside, it looks like with the Echo trailer, it looks like we are getting a return to form that's looking really, really cool, and I'm excited for all of that. And Deadpool and like all that. There's much to look forward to. Marvel's best days, and maybe they are behind it, but there are still good days ahead. I'll say it that way. Um, I would be calling Peter Jackson. You know what I mean? Like I would be calling someone with a very proven track record of being able to adapt high fantasy in like a superb way. Because the reality is I know Nintendo's going to want to do something that's, super high quality and they're going to want to take their time with it if it's live action. And if Peter Jackson has the time to do it, then he can make some really insanely cool stuff. And there are so many
Mhm.
set pieces in Hyrule that you could do like practically
Right.
like he did with Lord. That would be insanely cool.
Oh, yeah.
Here's the other thing. You get to play Link. I have no idea. Like I I've seen so many people throw Tom Holland in it, and it's like, no, 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 no. It's
They
not
throw
Tom
him at
Holland.
everything,
Like Tom
though.
Holland. Yeah. Here's the other thing. I sincerely doubt that he would even want to do that.
No, he doesn't.
I don't think.
I don't think he wants to do franchises. Like, outside of being a part of Spider-Man, I think I've seen
Yeah.
him comment on things when people, like, post, like, "Oh, he
Oh yeah.
should be this." Like, what was it? Like, Treasure Planet or
Yeah.
something? He was like, "No." Um,
See, that's different. That's a good that would be a good cast
it
though.
would be.
He fits that. Like that's even different, I think.
Yeah. People
I
throw him at everything, though, like
yeah,
Treasure
yeah, yeah.
Planet, Hercules.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And that it's just the risk you run, like when you're like when you're typecast, like when your breakout thing is Spider-Man. It's like that's just inevitably
It
that's what
is.
happens. I know he's like pretty like disillusioned with like Hollywood as a whole right now, though. I don't think he's very like apt to act in much these days.
No, and he's taken some
So
pretty rough roles, since Spider-Man, like, dark
yeah,
content, so
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah,
that wears
yeah.
on you.
Oh yeah, certainly. Yeah, it's tough. All that's tough. So all that to say, um, the odds are very much stacked against the Zelda movie as far as I'm concerned. But man, I would love for them to prove, like I said, prove me wrong. Like, please, like I'm not even being sarcastic. It's like I would genuinely love to be proven wrong on any of this stuff. Like, I would love for every Marvel project after the Marvels to be a 10 out of 10, 8 out of 10 every time, like how it sort of was, bar a couple of odd ones here and there for the first 10 years.
Right.
I would love to see Star Wars be Star Wars again. And I feel like it's kind of trending that way. They've just got to like tighten some screws, but I really did enjoy Ahsoka for what it was. I never finished reviewing it because truthfully, so many people were doing it already. It felt like I would just be white noise and on it, like, who cares about my opinion? I thought it was fine. Like there were aspects of it that I super enjoyed. There were things that I thought were absolutely terrible, but at the end of the day,
That's
It's
kinda
like
how
a
it
six and a
goes.
half. It is how it goes. It is how it goes. And I think they're learning as they're going with some of this stuff. But all that to say, let's wrap up with this because it is wildly interesting. Okay, this is crazy. All right, so the uh the Q4. This is just Q4, guys,
Oh,
of this
yeah.
year
I haven't heard
report
this yet.
for Disney's streaming loss, like for Disney Plus, is $387 million just for Q4. Like I we we operate this channel is super tiny. If you're watching this video, thanks. But like as it stands, we are a very tiny channel that we have friends that with larger channels and all that sort of stuff. And generally speaking, when it comes to the things here, I try and keep it positive. I do like to critique. Like I love to critique. I don't think you get to critiquing, but I also don't like to just like barrage properties or companies because I don't agree with what they're doing or whatever. That's not helpful. So I try not to do that sort of thing. But all that aside, I think there is something significant wrong at Disney right now when it comes to maybe it's a lot of things, but the proof is in the pudding when you're looking at a $387 million loss for a 1/4 of the year. That is that's that's genuinely concerning. And it's like it's a thing too where like a piece of that is because they're spending so much money on some of these shows. Like I know I like it's even just the Marvel stuff, right? Like She-Hulk had like a $250 million budget, which is unbelievable for how bad of a show that was. And I'm not just saying like okay, like content aside, I'm just saying the sh- the show is bad on multiple levels. It's not just like, like all encompassing like whatever the show's just like doing X, Y, and Z wrong. It had issues in like editing and VFX and writing and all this. And there was a report recently that came out and said that a lot of it was down to the fact that they didn't really know what they wanted to do with it. But here's the thing: if you're going to spend $250 million, and even at a production company like you work at that's not working, I can't speak to it, but I imagine you're probably not working on $250 million budgets very often. You would have a roadmap to what that's going to look like. Like
Yes.
you would that production be working with multiple people and be sure that you knew what you were doing before you went into to shooting that thing.
Yes.
Um and you wouldn't deviate while you do it too. That's the other thing. Like, or at least you wouldn't deviate very hard. Like, it wouldn't be a big plot change. It might be like a line or two of dialogue here or there. Or, you know what I mean? Like, maybe something like that. Like, I'm thinking specifically about like Ryan Reynolds in Deadpool because he
Mhm.
ad libs a lot. That's
Right.
not changing the plot of the whole thing, though.
No.
I think that it's
You
so. Go ahead. Sorry,
you
I've
kind
talked a
of
lot.
write that in. You kind of write that ad-libbing in a way. That's a weird way to say it or explain it, but
No, yeah, you
they
leave it
they yeah, they give
ambiguous
that
to a
yes.
degree. Mhm.
They
Yeah,
give that
yeah.
creative space while still having the parameters that they need to tell the story. Um,
Right.
yeah. Man.
Yeah. And we don't have numbers for other ones, but I can tell you, like, I even just the other day got an email. Sorry, I've been like back and forth away from my mic. I got an email yesterday that my Apple TV is going up from 6.99 to 10.99. It's a
Mhm.
$4 jump, which is
Yeah.
like, $4 is not anything crazy, but also when you're like that's not just Apple. My HBO just went up.
Everything.
Disney did go up. And here's the thing, even with those numbers, they're still not going to be recouping costs on shows that they're spending 200 plus $1 million on.
No.
Like I I don't know how it's sustainable. Like, I don't know what the thought process is, because the reality is like, and I hate ads. I hate them. I hate them. I pay for no ads YouTube. That's how much I hate ads. So you can pay that extra, couple bucks or whatever to do that, and then you're void of ads. Well, then what? Like, do they just like, where's the money coming from at that point? I guess I don't know.
Right.
Um, it feels like you know what it kind of feels like? It feels like it's different for sure, but it feels like a movie pass situation just
Mm,
extended because they had more budget. You know what I'm saying? It's
right.
it's one of those deals where like from the get-go we knew this wasn't going to be sustainable, but we're hedging our bets that maybe I don't know what you're hoping for, but like maybe like somewhere along the way it ends up working out. I don't know. Uh but yeah, thoughts on any of that with what you do? Do you guys do more movies or shows?
So, I mean, my team specifically does more movies. We just uh, kind of dabbled a little bit into the shows. So that was what we were in production on this past year, and so that's in post right now. And we'll see how that does in the next year. Um, but I mean, we don't have a streaming platform, and
Right.
that's to our benefit. Uh,
Mhm.
there's only 2 platforms, I believe, that are profitable, and I think that's Netflix and Hulu, if I'm not mistaken. But that's because
Interesting.
they weren't necessarily creating their own content, at least for a long time, Netflix wasn't creating their own content. They
Right.
were
Yeah, that's
always
true. Yeah.
receiving content, and so it's I mean, that's kinda how it worked with theaters too, and so they were distributing content. And
Yeah, yeah.
so all of these production companies were paying them to distribute.
Yep.
And
Yeah, that's
so
true.
that's where the balance was. Now we have all of these different streaming platforms um, made by these production companies that are wanting to produce their own content to put on their streaming platforms. And that's why they're not profitable.
Mhm. Yeah.
So they're shooting themselves in the foot and they know it.
It is
Um,
interesting. That is interesting for sure.
right.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
they're not they're not, getting content from someone else. They're spending a bunch of money on their own content and then not getting the same amount in, subscribers. It's just
Yeah.
it's not there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I guess truthfully, it probably won't ever be there. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes from here. Here's the thing: I don't think we'll ever go back to just like, and now, I mean, technically, it's not gone away. Like my folks still have cable, like not cable, but they've got like Xfinity or whatever, and they've got like a billion channels that no one ever watches. You know what I mean? Like they've got that whole thing still going on. I'm
Right.
curious to see sort of like how that evolves in the next few years, 5 years, 10 years with streaming because like streaming isn't sustainable for sure. But then like I don't know where we're gonna go from or where we're going to go from here.
Right.
It's we'll see. It'll be interesting.
It's
Just the
bizarre.
it is bizarre. The whole landscape though and is shifting media wise just like even with AI stuff and sort of the rise of the more rise I should say because they've been around forever like for quite a while but like the podcasting scene like all these things play factors I guess and YouTube too is an ever changing weird beast and I don't know I certainly watch infinitely more YouTube than I do anything else. And I think that there's an element of that that's just like I can pick and choose the creators that I want to check out and watch their stuff from. There's an element of it for me personally that's like do this. So I know what goes into it, and when it's done well, I really appreciate. I can really appreciate someone's efforts into creating quality content on a very basis for me to check out and stay up to date on all the nerdy stuff that I like to stay up to date on. Whether that's nerdy stuff in the traditional sense, like Marvel, Star Wars, whatever,
Mhm.
Disney, or if it's like, I love music. If it's like guys that do videos on guitars and that sort of thing. I have a big passion for that stuff. Or like I don't know, like whatever it may be, like the world is your oyster in that sense, or your clam or whatever the term is. I think I
I think
butchered
it's
it.
oyster.
Um,
We'll go with oyster.
there you go. Had it right the
Yeah.
first time. But at any rate, kind of a different vibe for this one today, but I figured since the news, so to speak, on the theme park stuff is not quite as satiated. Maybe it's time to talk about some of the movie stuff and see how it goes. But I had fun talking about this stuff. I'm really glad that I got to be the one to show you the Matt Smith Morbius scene. That's that is a that is something that I'll treasure forever.
That
Man, the more
song's never gonna leave my head.
oh no, it doesn't leave anybody's said. It's in there. It's baked
I
in.
couldn't tell that it was another language.
Oh, no. It's weird.
That's
I remember
concerning.
when we walked out of that movie, my sister-in-law looked at me and she was like, "Well, what'd you think about that?" And I was like, I just was cracking up because I was like, that was the worst thing I've seen in forever. It was so bad. It's a fun watch. It's like it's a fun watch with like friends or
Oh,
whatever,
yeah.
for sure. But at any rate, thank you guys as always for watching. We really appreciate it. Uh, we've got a couple more things coming out in November for sure. Be on the lookout for those. We're sort of becoming regular contributors over at that park place. They are keeping you up to date on different news that's going on with theme parks and movies and entertainment as a whole. Whatever, check those guys out. But other than that, we're going to be in the parks early in December, very early in December, and really looking forward to it. It's going to be the first time that the three of us have been together in like years since we graduated from college, so that'll be a lot of fun. Uh, yeah, this has been this. I can't believe we're closing in on the end of 2023. It's a very strange thing, but here we are. It's November. It's like approaching the middle of November, which
I
is
know.
weird. But at any rate, thank you guys again. Again, like, comment, subscribe. We love the interactions. Interact with us if you can, and we'll catch you on the next one. All right. Cool.